what does a title look like? So title is basically the ownership record. So title will show who the owner of the property is, and also it will give some details about the property. So if there are any liens on the property, if there's anything registered against the title, so what kind of registration can be there on the title? So let's take a look at the title now. So at the very top of the title, this is how you can tell if it's a title. So it will say land title certificate at the very top. In the next line here, there are three numbers that you will see displayed here. Now, important thing to keep in mind here, when you see only two numbers that are separated by a semicolon, that means it's a condominium. So if there are three numbers under the short legal description, it's a house, it's a subdivided land. So basically any kind of property that comes with the land, so detached house, anything like that. If it's a condominium, there will only be two numbers. The first number will be a condominium plan number, and second number will be a unit number. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. If there are two, that means it's a condominium. If there's three, that means it could be a house, for example, detached property. So you need one of these three numbers in order to pull the title. In the condominium unit, we would have talked about how you can have titled parking and you can have titled storage. In this case, you have probably a titled parking spot that comes with the unit. If it's just this number, that means it's just that particular property, the unit itself. But if there's +1, that means something else is attached to this title, which could be a parking spot. Usually it's a parking spot, but it could also be a storage unit. So just keep in mind that +1. You need either the link number or a legal description of the property, or the title number, one of these three in order to pull the title. Now, below here, this is your full legal description. So when we get this number here, this is where it's coming from. So this is a condominium plan number. The first number, if it's a condominium, will always be a condominium plan number. Second number will be the unit number. So we'll tell you this is the unit number. Now, if it was a detached property, so there will be three: plan, block, and lot number. So here it would not say condominium plan, it will just say plan and then block and then lot number. So there will be three numbers, and this is where three numbers will be listed here as well. Now, another thing to keep in mind here, for a condominium property, you will see this mentioned here. It says 59 undivided 1/10,000 shares in the common property. This is your unit factor. So we have talked about unit factors being assigned to each unit. This is where the unit factors will be displayed. The unit factors here are really small. So this may be a parking actually that we are looking at, but this is the unit factors, right? So we said in each condominium, doesn't matter the size of the condominium complex, each condominium will have 10,000 unit factors, right? And this is where the 10,000 is coming from. This particular unit has 59 unit factors out of the 10,000 unit factors. So that's why it says 59 undivided 1/10,000 shares, right? So 59 divided by 10,000 is what it's saying. So this particular unit has 59 unit factors attached. So anytime you need to find how many unit factors are, this is where that number is coming from. And then below that, it will say estate, what type of estate it is. So we have talked about the different types of estates, right? Fee simple estate, there's leasehold estate, and then there's life estate. So here, by looking at this place here, we can tell what type of estate we are dealing with. For most cases that you'll be working on, it will say fee simple estate, right? So most of the time we don't deal with life estates or leasehold estates. In this case, we'll be dealing with fee simple estate. So that's where that will be. And then you have ATS reference. That's not important, but this one here, what municipality or which city is this property located in? It says City of Edmonton. So this is where you would go to see where the property is located. And then it will talk about registrations here. So this is transfer of land. When was the last time this property exchanged hands? So it doesn't mean when it is sold, but last time it exchanged hands. So generally, property will change hands when it's sold, but it could also be that one person transferring to somebody else. So for example, units under my name, I transfer it to my husband's name. So in that case, that will also show here. So this is where, when the conveyancing happens, when the lawyer sends the purchase contract, or showing that the property has sold, this they will send this to the land titles office, and land titles office will register it. It will show you what date the property was sold or it transferred hands. And next thing here, important here, so generally consideration here, it will say 475,000 or whatever the property has sold for. That's what it'll generally say here. Next spot here, it says owners. So who are the owners here? So it gives the name of the owner and the address. This address doesn't necessarily have to be the address of the property. It can be, let's say, investment property, in which case it will be the name of the owner and their current address. So make sure, this is not the municipal address, so don't confuse it with the municipal address. Actually, the municipal address of the property is not listed on the title. Only the legal description will be listed on the title. But if the person is living, or they live in the unit or live in the property that the title is for, and it's not an investment property, then it will say the municipal address. However, don't take that for granted. It doesn't mean that this address is the address of the property. Okay. So then we come to this section where it says encumbrances, liens, and interest. This is where we get information about the property, about anything that is registered against the property. The top part was just I am identifying details about the property. This section is where we figure out what's going on with this particular property. So here we have utility right of way. So it looks like City of Edmonton has something registered. So there's a utility right of way. So they may have some equipment on the property, where it could be, for example, APCOR also has utility right of way. So they may have a box, or they may have something installed on that property. It will tell you who has the registration. So in this case, first the city has something installed, and then we see APCOR has something installed there as well. And looks like some part of it was discharged. Discharge means it has been removed from there. So it looks like partial discharge of utility right away. So they may have two pieces of equipment installed. They took one away. So now only partial charge is there. So utility right of way means that whoever has registered a utility right of way. So this could be any of the utilities company, it could be the city itself. So the people from those companies, they're allowed to be on the property to maintain their equipment. That's the point of utility right of way. So the people who are associated with that particular company or the city, they're allowed to be on that person's land to do maintenance on that particular property. That's what the utility right of way means. That means the homeowner cannot kick those maintenance people off of the property. They're allowed to be there. And then there's another utility right of way in 2014 that got registered. So it looks like they put another piece of equipment on that property. And then it will tell you if there's a mortgage on it. If there was a lien on the property, that will be registered here. So let's say somebody didn't pay their taxes. If it was property taxes, then the city can have a lien on it. If it was CRA, like somebody didn't pay their income taxes, then CRA can put a lien on the property. So a bunch of those things can be registered here. So in this case, this one, there's a mortgage registered. Most properties will have mortgage. Some properties that are completely paid off will not have a mortgage showing, but most of the properties that we generally deal with will have some sort of a mortgage. So it will show up here. It will tell you who the mortgage is with, their address, and then it will also show you the total amount they're putting in here. Now, there's two types of charges here. Sometimes the amount that you are seeing here, it doesn't necessarily mean that's how much the person owes on the property. It could be a collateral charge, which means, let's say the person bought the property for 192,000, and then the bank will put the entire 192,000 as the amount that they will register as a mortgage. And the reason they would do that is because in the future, if the person wanted to borrow money as they pay down the mortgage, the bank basically has a HELOC attached to it, and then they can borrow that money through that HELOC. So that's one way of registering mortgages. Another way of registering mortgages, let's say they bought the house for 192,000, or let's say they bought the house for 250,000, or unit for 250,000, and they only borrowed 191,672. That was their mortgage. Then only that amount will get registered. So you will see a charge like that. One thing to keep in mind as you're practicing as a real estate agent would be when you see something like this. So let's say somebody comes to you and they have a mortgage that shows 191,000, but when you go look at the price of the property that you're listing for, maybe you're listing this property for 150,000. Now you have to ask the seller a question, which is how much mortgage do you have outstanding? Because here it says 191,000, but you're listing the property for 150, which means who's going to pay for the extra 41,000, right? So that's a conversation we want to have with the seller, but this is more from practicing point of view. But going back to the title, this is what the title looks like. These are the different types of registrations that you will see on the title.